Hey guys, Kono here. Today's match will be in the Nostalgic Knick Knack's first tournament of 2025. All the matches are going to be my Lucci deck versus all of my opponents, but I'll be posting them separately. Let's check it out. Alright, round 2 against my buddy Ivan Shanks. You know, I've only went against this leader about 3 to 4 times, and I gotta say, the matchup is very tricky. You have to cater to his leader ability, which lowers any character or leader's attack by 1000 once per turn during any of my attacks. This also means you can choose someone else to lower it instead of the current attacker. I did win the dice roll. I understand Shanks can go first or second depending on the build and deck they're facing. I opted to go first though, but either way, I would have options. Going first would give me the first attack, plus having my Gecko curve with a cost reduction card. Going second would have allowed my Jack play on my 8 Dawn curve with cost reduction. But with Jack, it would be sort of easy to take down if my opponent played Rayleigh the following turn with the leader swinging into him at 5k. Another play would be Otama lowering Jack by 2000 power, followed by Ben Beckman trashing a 6000 powerless character. You know, one thing I noticed about the Shanks deck is that it has a card for almost each Dawn curve that's a threat. The 1 Dawn Uta, trust me, she swings 5k if ignored. The 2 Dawn Sanji, 3 Dawn Rush Zoro, 4 Dawn Lucky Roo, 5 Dawn Rush Ace, Marco or Yasop, 6 Dawn any 5 Dawn or less I mentioned just now, 7 Dawn Ben Beckman and Newgate, 8 Dawn Rayleigh and Dragon, 9 Dawn Rush Shanks, and 10 Dawn Shanks and Goldie Roger. See, here's what I mean. The leader lowered my leader's power by 1000. This is why I went with 2 attacks. It forces him to take the swing or give up a counter. I know, I could have swung 8000 instead, but I wanted to bait out my spandom so he could go in the trash, which I could use later. Hook, line, and sink. I didn't have to counter out this turn. But let's be fair, I would have swung with him until he was taken out. Lucky Roo reminds me a lot like Ryuma, except Lucky Roo can KO anyone on the field that has an original power of 6000 power or less when KO'd, unlike Ryuma, KOing a 4 cost or less rested character when he is KO'd. So you can see the similarity in this situation and why I just opted to finger pistol him instead. He didn't use his leader's skill, countering with the 2k Sanji, which tells me 2 things. He has only 2ks in his hand and leader skill does nothing for him here, or he has Beckman in his hand and doesn't want to throw him, so he threw a 2k instead. Most of the 1k bodies like Beckman, Ace, even Roo and Yasop have more use on the field than in trash. You know, another thing I was wondering is, was Ivan going to use a Red Hawk this turn to prevent a swing? Still being at 5 lives, surely he can afford 1 hit to get more cards and more options next turn. This also tells me he had no other plays, but to be fair, me having nothing on board doesn't give him any plays to capitalize on except for building his own board. I played the Zombie Luffy even knowing there might be a Beckman in his hand. If I were to play my Sabo blocker, he'd be trashed anyways, and my hand was pretty good at the time so I didn't need to filter. At least with Zombie Luffy, even Newgate wouldn't be able to KO him without the help of Otama. I do have a 2k counter Kaku in my hand, as you guys saw me grab in my first turn with Spandam. But if you notice, I did not have a Helmeple in my trash, as he is an essential 2-cost play when playing Gecko Moria, minusing 3 costs to any character, so I countered with him and Rebecca, another essential play with Gecko. Ivan did end up having the Beckman in hand, trashing my Luffy, which means he's up for popping on the field next turn. Using that one Dawn swinging 6k to leader means Beckman is staying on the field, as a normal Gecko play can't take down a 7-cost character without some help. So instead, I value Gecko, meaning I fetch for cards and block her up at the same time while having a big body on board. You know, my search was a whiff. If I drew one of those Kaidos this turn, he would have been able to trash Beckman and force Ivan to discard from hand. But I was like, oh well, at least Rebecca can fetch from trash herself, so this play wasn't all too bad. I did take a bit figuring out if Sabo or Brook was the better choice, and if I chose Brook, should I play him? I did end up picking Brook. My conclusion was, he'd be KO'd anyways, wasting that play, so I kept him in hand. I was expecting a 10-drop Shanks this turn, but it looks like Ivan didn't have it. Instead, he plays Newgate, capitalizing on his on-play ability, giving Arrested Dawn to Shanks. He KOs my Rebecca, then, adding an active Dawn as well, he swings 7k to me. The thing I forgot was that Beckman was also able to swing, so I took both Newgate and Beckman's swing. Moves like this could cost you the match sometimes, so stay on your toes, guys. This 10k swing to Beckman was a test to see if he'd use two 2ks in his hand to protect him, or just let him go. By letting him go, this makes Newgate easier to KO as I received a Tempest Kick from life. Now we finally do our Gecko combo, grabbing Helmeple and Rebecca, and Rebecca, and Rebecca, and Rebecca. Oh. Let's not talk about that. Anyways, Helmeple minusing 3 more on Newgate, while Rebecca grabs Sabo from trash, playing Spandam from hand. Spandine will then bottom deck 3 CP cards to play Rob Lucci from trash, who can KO a 2 cost or less and a 1 cost or less character from the field by bottom decking an additional 3 cards. This kinda reminds me of the last game where I bottomed 3 Geckos instead of the 3 Kaidos you just saw with Lucci. By this time he should have 10-drop Shanks. Another card I haven't seen all game was Rayleigh. Playing Rayleigh would have weakened both my Morias by 2 and 3k, also allowing Rayleigh to KO Rebecca with his following ability. Shanks can then swing 7 into my 5k power Arrested Gecko, forcing me to throw out counters. The power reduction would have stayed on my turn as well, which is also a great ability. The other play would be dropping that static rush Shanks, but my Rebecca would just eat the whole swing and I would counter out with 1k from the leader swing. He instead plays Newgate, KOing my Rebecca yet again. And then he goes and swings 9k to my Rob Lucci, so I just let him go. I figured there's no point in wasting cost reduction at this time when I can save it for the next guy thrown out, so I just swing a little tall to Newgate. Minusing 1k to my leader was a smart move, reducing an extra swing. I finally get a hit in on his life. I did have another Gecko in hand. Without any other cards to pop on the field, I played it for value. The play with Helm Elbow replacing Spandam was 1. I have a stronger body on field. 2. This is my third Gecko. What are the chances of me getting a 4th? 3. You can never have too much CP in trash unless you're running out of counters. And 4. He can act as a pseudo blocker. You guys want to know a power play? I forgot to grab a card with Rebecca and just passed. You know, my thoughts after I collected myself were, are we finally going to see a Shanks play? Or not? You know, staring down the field facing 3 Geckos is an extremely bad spot to be in. There's almost no way to get out of this unless you blow up the field with cards like Kaido or Kailin, but those are both purple cards from the Animal Kingdom decks. Ivan is taking quite a while, but I understand why. I'd be doing the same thing if I were in his shoes. Can't punish a person for trying to optimize their move. There are only so many plays he can do, but you never know, the game's not over. He finally drops his first Shanks. Oh, and Helmepple became a pseudo blocker. I'm not sure if swinging with it was the best choice or keeping him active, but then again, he is facing a cost reduction deck that can pop him with 5 Dawns, so he made the most of that play. I got greedy, still not wanting to use any cost reduction, so I went for a 17k swing at Shanks. He reduced the 1000 power to my leader again, but I kept the 1 Dawn just in case this time, and my gamble paid off to try to swing into that Shanks. If Ivan doesn't answer any of these geckos still, then the match is definitely going to be mine next turn. I was expecting Rayleigh or Shanks. I completely forgot about Dragon. Now I do have 10 cards in hand, but you never know, I could be bricked up. Right when Ivan went for my life, I already knew it was game over. Yeah, but sometimes you can never be too safe. So I protected this swing, just in case by some chance Ivan counters out my next turn swings. Red Hawk is the thing, you know, triggering to give one character or leader minus 10,000 for the turn. Yeah. There are a lot of ways to math lethal here, but I didn't want to overthink it. I went for the simpler math, swinging 9, 9, 9, 15 just in case. I saved those dons till the end just in case Red Hawk does hit. Seeing me rip 4 cards from his hand on my last Gecko swing, leaving 3 cards in hand, seals the match for me. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I would have a deck profile, but I'll have that ready at the end of all 4 rounds, so stay tuned.
君と